Hey guys, it's Kevin again. This is my review for the series premiere of Empire. Now, I really, season 1, episode 1, this was the pilot, and, I really didn't know what to think of this show. The only reason I checked it out were for two reasons. One, it's a musical. Two, it actually started getting very good reviews, and the plot seemed kind of interesting to me. It involves music and things like that. But the thing with the show is, I didn't really know it was going to be because it's Fox, and Fox is not really produce very good programs. Most of their programs get yanked after a season or so. Most of their programs end up going away. You don't really hear about them. You don't really hear about them for very long. They get very bad ratings. Nobody really watches them. However, I gotta say, if this is any indication of what the show is gonna be, then I'm excited because this was actually a very, very good premiere. I love this premiere. I thought it was very, very good, and I actually really enjoyed this show already. This honestly might end up being one of the biggest surprises of the year because it really is a fantastic show, and it could have been really, really bad. It could have been terrible. It could have been a show that I didn't really like, but there's something about the show that just works. I don't know what it is, but there's something here that they have that is working very, very well, and I think that they're doing a very good job with whatever they're doing. I don't know what it is that I really like about the show, but I really, really like it. I think this is a very good show, and I definitely see the show having a lot of potential. Definitely. And let's just get this episode because I really want to talk about it. Now, for also, guys, I'm going to do what I'm doing with Gallivant with Empire. I'm only reviewing the first episode. I'm not reviewing the show individually. I'm only reviewing the first episode. And I wanted to review because I want to tell you guys how much I really liked it. And then there's one other show I'm doing that with that I will review at the end and in the next video, which I'll talk about. But basically, we see this woman. She's in a studio lying down a track, and right away, she's singing and everything. And right away, we meet our main character, Lucious Lyon, who he watches her session. He cuts her off and tells her that she needs to sing like she's gonna die tomorrow, and that's the last song that she'll ever sing. And she restarts, and it's very interesting advice what he gives her. I mean, I'm just like, okay, that's kind of harsh. It's really kind of weird advice what he's telling her to do, but he's giving her this advice and everything. And basically, we then find out that he actually is in a hospital room, but he's being treated for something. We don't know what it is. And the doctor talks to him, and there are scans hung up nearby. He says it's not there yet, and he yells at Bunkie to wake up, then walks into the room with the singer. And he tells her to go back a year ago when she just found out her brother had been shot. He asks how it felt when she had identified his body. He tells them to restart. She does a much better job, and she actually sounds like she's in genuine pain. I thought that was a very well done scene, and I really like the way the episode started. Very, very good there. So then we see this yacht. There's a party going on. There are two guys that are working on a song downstairs. Andre and Rhonda watch them. And he says Hakeem usually likes to save it for when their dad's around. He tells her that they need to find the old man. And Lucious blows off Becky, who's trying to talk to him. And she asks if things went okay at the doctor. She says the president called and he tells her to cancel his meetings and have his sons meet him at his house. And he holds a press conference where he says he started selling drugs at 9 years old to feed himself, but says the music that played in his head kept him alive while he was sleeping on the streets. And we then see this kid gangster rapping and everything, and I gotta say, music in this show was very, very good. I was actually really enjoying the music. I'm not a huge fan of like rap music or hip-hop, but I actually really love the music in the show. I think it's very good music, and I think it's because the way they make it relate to what's going on. I really enjoy that. So basically, then we see that kid gangster rapping, and he says that music saved his life. He says the internet has destroyed artists' ability to earn a living, and says he's going to change all that. He says Empire Entertainment is going public. Andre comes in and talks to his brothers Jamal and Hakeem, and then we kind of get the central plot here. Their dad comes in and yells at Hakeem for having his feet on his 40K dining room table, and he tells him the company is going public and he needs someone to take over. He says he'll only pick one of them and will groom them. One of them is going to take over, and I think that definitely is very interesting. So Lucius tells one of them that they have to man up and lead. Jamal asks if this is King Lear, which is funny because that's actually what the show is based off on, is a modern-day version of King Lear. His dad calls him a smartass, and Andre's offended that he's in competition with the other two. And then we see Cookie. Now, Cookie is Lucious's ex-wife. She is now being released from prison, and she signs her release papers, walks out happy and free, and she says she's coming home, and she sees two guys spar in a ring while Andre and Lucious watch. Lucious tells his son they're going to make a fortune off him. He tells Bunkie to step away while he talks to his son, and he tells Andre how he remembers when he was 11, he used to dress up in a suit and try to run the company. Now, Andre says he's the most qualified to run it. He wants to be the one to run it, and Lucious says it's celebrity driven, and they may need a celebrity to run it, and Andre disagrees and then tells his dad that Cookie is out, and Lucious chews Bunkie out for not telling him. Cookie's down and about. Lucious tells Bunkie to let him know everything she's doing. He agrees, and then Bunkie asks for $25,000, and I mean, that's pretty crazy. So Jamal then goes to his boyfriend. We then find out in the scene that Jamal is actually a homosexual, and his dad is, he's very upset. And I think this is a very good plot. And actually, this is one of the things I really started to love about the show, is the way they were handling certain plots. They're very, very interesting. He basically tells his boyfriend that his dad is never going to really, let him be the one to run this company because of all the homophobia. And his boyfriend fixes him up, some food. He comforts him, kisses him. There's a call, and the woman says, "Let me in," and it's Cookie. So we then see some flashbacks, and I gotta say, the show handles flashbacks very, very well. The flashbacks really made me care more for the story, and I thought they were very well done. And we see a flashback to Lucious sending Jamal in to visit his mom in prison. She asks where his dad is. Jamal says he's not coming to see her today. She asks about school, and he tells her kids are picking on him and taking his lunch. So Cookie tells him he's different, that's something just she knows. She says his life is gonna be hard sometimes, but tells him that she's got him. And he leans in. She says again, "I got you, Jamal," and his boyfriend scrambles to pick up the place. He asks Jamal if he told her about him. You can definitely tell these two are very, very close. You can just tell. Cookie gets off the elevator, hugs Jamal tight. She looks around, says he's messy for a queen, says he needs a good maid. She asks if he's cooking chicken. You can tell that she is accepting of the fact that he's gay. She's very accepting of it. And that's one of the things that I definitely really like about the show, is that they kind of portrayed Cookie as like this evil person, but really she's not, and I think it's very interesting. I'll get to that when we get to more of the characters, though. So his boyfriend runs up to him, and he introduces her to Michael, and says they're living together. That's his boyfriend's name, and he says he didn't tell her that he was dating a little Mexican, says he needs to make La Cucaracha clean up some. He asks what she's wearing, and she says it's what she was locked up in. She says she got out early for good behavior. He asks what she's going to do now, and she says she's going to get what's hers. And Cookie then shows up at the office, and we find out what this means. She pushes in past Becky and into Lucious's office, and she looks around at all of his awards, photos of him with famous people. He comes in, says the queen has returned, and he says that 17 years later, and she's still beautiful. He asks when she got out, because he wasn't expecting to see her, and she says 2 days ago she got out. He tells her that the sacrifice made a lot of this possible, and says she's not the only one who suffered. She says he owes her what's hers, and says half the company is hers. She said her $400K paid for half, and she did 17 years for it. And Lucious tells her it doesn't work like that, and this is not the same company they started. He says he only controls about 10% of it, and they're about to go public. And she asks what that means. And he says he can't give her a huge salary, but can't give her half his company. You can definitely tell he's kind of narcissistic. He really is. She rails and says she started, and says he can't stop playing her. She says she wants $5 million and wants to be head of A&R, and he says it's too much and says he can maybe do 3, but says he has someone in A&R already. She asks if it's this little Holly Berry he's got photos of. Anika comes in, and Cookie calls her Boo Boo. This is, this girl that Lucious is now having sex with. So she asks Boo Boo asks what's going on before she sweeps her way out past her, and she was already angry to see photos of Lucious and Anika looking like they're in love and everything, because she obviously still cares about Lucious. And she then goes to see Hakeem in his swanky apartment. He's got these huge dogs roaming around. She looks around and tells his hairstylist to get out. He asks what's up and tells him to shut off the music. He mutes it and asks what. She says she wanted to see him, and he asks if she's done. She asks why he stopped taking her calls years ago, and says she wants him to know she did everything for them. He asks if she wants a medal, and she says she wants respect and picks up a broom. He's not happy to see her. I mean, she hasn't given them shit, so he's like, you want a medal, bitch, or something? Because, he's not very fond of her, and I like seeing that in this scene. It was cool to see the sons, different reactions to their mother suddenly being back in their life. So Hakeem tells Lucious that his mom is a psychotic animal. He says she was supposed to get 30 years, and says Dottie came along and wanted to raise them like hers. And they kind of discuss what's going on with Cookie. And I agree with Lucius said. Cookie is not a bad person. They were just in a bad situation. And Lucius tells him that Dottie got shot and tells him that he needs to get his act together. He tells him he's wasting his talent on bitches and booze and tells him he's spoiled. He says he wrote some stuff for Hakeem and they're going to record it. He agrees and gives his dad, he agrees to that. And then Cookie finds Bunkie sleeping in the SUV. And this was kind of interesting what's going on here. He was supposed to be watching her. She gets in the car and asks why he's there and says he looks like a mess. She asks if he's been drinking. He says Lucius is keeping him down and says they used to be like brothers. He said he raised the kids, but Lucius treats him like a butler. And Cookie asks if he's got him following her, and he admits it. He says he'll tell him that he didn't see her. She says he's her dog, and he tells her that Lucius is on the warpath and that there's something going on. There's definitely something going on with him. She doesn't know what it is. She tells him to get on a treadmill and gets out. Becky tells Jamal a story about a bathhouse that Lucius comes in. He asks why he called, and Lucius tells him that his sexuality is a choice, and this scene is just crazy what's going on here. I mean, it really shows how much of a hatred Lucius has for homosexuals, and I like that the show portrayed that. It was really cool to see, definitely, because it seems like he's like this nice dad and everything, but it shows that, yeah, he pretty much treats Jamal like shit. He really does. I mean, he even thinks this is like a, it's a choice of his, that he can't really get out of it and everything. So he says he's saying this to help Jamal. Lucius says white kids make up 75% of their sales and tells Jamal to stop calling himself, a sissy. And Jamal says he needs to get to know him, but Lucius says to release another album if he wants to spend time with him. And we then see a flashback, and this scene is probably the craziest scene in the episode. We see a flashback holding a young Jamal and Cookie coaching him on his singing, and he tells her that he loves her gangster ass. He hands off the baby to her. We see Jamal playing in her heels and scarf when he was little, and the family giving him odd looks, and especially Lucius. Lucius was not supportive of this at all. He took him, takes him into another room, beats him down for dressing like a girl, and that was just crazy. You can see that Cookie is obviously freaking out. And then we see now that Lucius is getting an MRI. We still don't know what he's getting an MRI for, though. So then Rhonda comes down dancing for Andre, his girlfriend. He's ignoring her, and she tells him to take his pills and hands him his meds and some water. He tells her his dad loves his brothers more than him and is going to leave it all to Hakeem, and she says Jamal won't object because he's too passive. But Rhonda asks what if Jamal made a play for the company and he and Hakeem went to war, which would leave the last man standing. She pulls her shirt off, crawls onto his lap, and they basically, they have sex. And Cookie then hears the knock at the door, carries her gun with her, and it's Andre. She stashes her gun. He comes in and asks if their dad had set her up, and she tells him she's proud of him for making something of himself. He says he's sorry he didn't come to visit, and she says she was ashamed of his dope dealing mom. They hug. She wants to be there for them. She's tired. She was tired of being in prison. She was tired of all this happening to her. Sorry guys, I'm getting a Skype call. I'm going to ignore that right now. Sorry about that. I'm going to ignore that. But, she really wants to be there for her kids now. She really wants to be there for them now, and she really cares about them. So she's tired of living that life, and I'm very happy she said that. So they hug and swap, they say I love you to each other. Later, she asks why he married that white girl, and he says he met her at school, and she's brilliant. He tells Cookie that she should manage Jamal, and she says Lucius won't let her do A&R. We then find out that Ron is actually his wife, by the way. Andre says she can make Jamal a star, and she says she has no leverage to make him hand over Jamal, and Andre tells her what to do. He gives her this plan, and Cookie bursts into the board meeting, and actually probably a very funny scene. She tells Vernon to kiss her black ass. That was so funny. She goes to the head of the table, says they need to talk business. She tells Lucius not to touch her like that. He sits with her and Vernon and asks if she's out of her damn mind. She says that she wants Jamal. He says no. She says he's messing with the wrong bitch. She threatens to tell the SEC that the company was started with drug money, which is true. That's how it was started, and I find that kind of interesting. That's an interesting twist. She tells Vernon to shut up, and when she starts to speak, Lucius asks why she's doing this. She tells him not to call her baby and calls him a two-faced bastard. She says she's been living like a dog for 17 years, and she says, give me Jamal. She strums the piano. Lucius finally tells her she can have him. She straightens her fur coat and tells Vernon it was nice to see him, and Lucius says he never wanted Jamal anyway and says she knows, and probably I honestly would say this is one of my favorite scenes of the episode. I really enjoyed this. We see Jamal. He's seeing the Sonic Club. You can see how devastated he is. He's really singing a song about how, his dad, he doesn't know how to have his dad, accept him. He doesn't know what else to do. He knows his dad's not accepting of him and he doesn't like it. And we then see a flashback of when his dad, took him to visit his mom in prison and beated him for wearing his mom's heels. Not only did he do that, he did more than that. Cookie watched him with appreciation. He belts out the heartfelt song, and Cookie's, screaming at him, and Lucious threw Jamal into the trash, basically telling him that because of his sexuality, he is trash. And it's really, really fucked up what he did, but it's so good. It's such a good story as well, and it honestly was one of my favorite parts of the episode. It handled emotion perfectly, and that was just such an amazing scene. And Cookie screaming him that he's out of his damn mind and pulls the boy out of the garbage can. She takes the crying child back inside as his dad stomps off, and Becky watches and loves it. The crowd loves him. Cookie tells Jamal he has it all and they just need to show the world. Jamal's actually a very talented actor. He's a very talented, not actor, I mean singer. Very talented singer. He's very talented at what he does, and, Cookie thinks he has a real talent. So, she says he should be selling out stadiums. Becky asks Michael what he knows about Cookie, and he says she seems genuine. She tells him he's got to share what God gave him with this world. He tells her he loves her, but she says he's not that guy. She tells him to go hang with his friends, and he goes and calls him a stupid sissy. And then we see Hakeem tells Jamal that Cookie beat him with a broom, and he says Cookie wants to manage his career, and he says he told her he's not ready to release an album. Hakeem says with Dad running him and Cookie running him, they'll try to get them to kill each other, and Jamal wants Hakeem to leave, but says he's got a party and it's part of his creative process. So, Hakeem's kind of concerned that things are not going to go well. He's really the only one that is kind of on edge about what's going on here. Andre seems to be okay with what's going on, but Hakeem does not want a part of any of this. So, next day, he's in the studio with his dad. He's recording, and Andre tells Lucious he's hungover, he can't remember the lyrics, and his dad tells him he's a disappointing mess who's wasting his time. I mean, he's rapping, and he has no emotion whatsoever in anything he's saying, so it's very reminiscent to the first scene. And Hakeem says that the song is whack, and it's his dad's fault, and Hakeem goes to see Jamal and says the music is bad. Hakeem says their dad is pushing, and he's lost his confidence. Jamal asks if this is what he wants to be, and nods, and I really love this scene. I really did. I thought this had some very good brother chemistry. Jamal starts playing on the keyboard, then Hakeem starts singing along to what he's playing. He says to lay it down for his dad and he'll be fine. Bunkie then bangs on Lucious's door late at night and tells him he forgot him and left him behind. He says he's been there since the beginning and he won't even give him 25 large. He said he'd lose it all to a bookie, and Bunkie says he wants $3 million, and Lucious says he wouldn't give him 3 nickels. Bunkie says he'll burn him down to the ground. He says he knows all about the dealers he killed. Pulls a gun on Lucious. He says he wants his, and Lucious is livid. Hakeem is in the studio recording, and this time Jamal is really into the track. He's really into it this time. He's bobbing his head. He goes in and he grabs Hakeem and tells him he's beautiful. He says Jamal helped him with most of it. Lucious says it wasn't Jamal, it was his genius that did it, and Jamal walks out. So he's obviously kind of upset. He's very upset because he was the one that basically helped him and he got no credit for it, and he definitely feels really bad. So he goes to see Cookie, tells her that she wins. He says he's doing it. She says they're going to play up the gay angle about him not accepting him. And Jamal says he's going to come out, and she smiles. And the doc tells Lucious that his test results aren't good, and we find out what's happened to him. He has ALS, and there's no cure, and she said it's so rare, there's no cure in sight, and he maybe has 3 years. So I'm thinking the show's only going to go for 3 seasons because he has 3 years. So that's definitely very interesting. It really makes us, very worried about his character, about what's going to happen there. So, flashback to Cookie and Lucious. She's got a bag of money but says something was off. She says Panther was acting like something was going down. Lucious tells her it's nothing. She says that if she goes down, promise her that he'll keep playing. She says she knows his album is going to be big. He tells her stop worrying and promises nothing will happen to her. He says nothing will tear his family apart. Cookie signs papers agreeing never to disclose as she helps start the company in exchange for a fat salary and control of Jamal. And Vernon and Andre watch them sign the papers, and Vernon tells Andre that he's the only one that can run the company, and asks Andre not to forgive his Uncle Vernon when he's running things. And Vernon shows Lucious photos of Bunkie Woodshine Johnson and says he's into him for 150K, and says the guy is dangerous and it won't be easy him to go away. And Lucious walks up on Bunkie and shows him the photo. Bunkie says so. He tells Lucious he's been a sellout for years and says he knows Lucious is nothing but a punk-ass gangster. He asks if he's going to give him his money. This scene is just, it's so intense here. Lucious says they've been best friends since they were 14. Nothing can come between them except a bullet. And he kills Bunkie. Bunkie was dead, and I was so shocked when that happened. Bunkie looked like he was going to be a huge character, but no, he was killed in the first episode, and I gotta give the show balls for doing that. I mean, it's huge that they did that, and it really shows how much of a bad person Lucious really is. So Lucious asks Cookie about her hair, and she says Jamal made her get a weave. He says he's sorry he didn't visit her in jail. She says he misses her honesty, and he plays her Hakeem song. She says it's really good. You know, she says that's a big hit, and he tells her to quit with the Uncle James thing. He's, you know, because she thinks she's related to James Brown. I kind of find that very funny. He calls her a liar. He says Jamal doesn't have it and won't ever make it no matter what she does. She says she's going to make him a star and take anyone down who gets in her way. He says he ain't got time for this. You know, he thinks that, basically, you know, she says that James Brown's her father because she thinks that Jamal's going to be as successful as him. But, you know, Lucious is like, no, there's no way that's going to happen. She tells me better make time. He asks why she's doing this, and she says she wants to show him a faggot really can run this company. You know, that's what she wants to do. So that was just huge when she said that. I mean, that was huge because, I mean, that's really what he doesn't think. He doesn't think that a gay guy can run the company, and she wants to convince him that, yeah, he can. So Lucious then welcomes back Cookie at a big party. He says this year his two sons, Hakeem and Jamal, are releasing new albums. Jamal stars his dad, then Lucious toasts to Empire, and the episode ends. And I gotta say, I really love where the show is going. There are a lot of things the show does very well. First of all, the show does not seem like it would be very good. It really does not seem like it would work, but honestly, everything really does work in the show. I did not realize how dramatic the show was going to be. Really, this family is pretty fucked up. They're to the equivalent of the Gallaghers. They really are that bad of a family. I mean, it is very, very sad. And I gotta say, the best part of the show, honestly, is the drama. They handle drama so well on this show. So many great dramatic moments. Makes you care more about the family. It makes you worried about what's going to happen to them. And you really want this family. You want everything to go well for them. But you know that things are not going to go well just because of how much bad shit has happened to them. The music in this show is also amazing. I was not prepared for how good the music really was. The music in the show, I really like it. There's this one song that's in my head that Jamal sings that I think was really, really good. And the music is another thing I really love about the show. Now, let me get to the acting in the show. Terrence Howard as Lucious Lyon is fantastic. I love his character. You know, he kind of seems like he is trying to be a better person, but really he's not. He's the same person he is, and he seems like he's trying to be a better person, but he's not. You know, he still has this hatred for his son. He really is the definition of an anti-hero, and I think that's what's so interesting about his character. I really do love that about his character, and he's a very good character in my opinion. Brysshire Gray as Hakeem. I really like his character because, of course, he's the one that Lucious wants to run the company, and he's also kind of concerned about what's going to happen in this life, you know, if this keeps happening. I also really like Jussie Smollett as Jamal. You know, his character I think is very, very good, with him being the middle child and him being the gay singer-songwriter. I think it's a very good character. Trey Byers as Andre is also very good. Anika Calhoun as Grace Gurley as Anika, I also really liked. All the other characters in the show I thought were really good as well. But I really, really want to talk about probably the person that steals the show. Tara B. Henson as Cookie Lyon steals the show in this episode. She steals the show. I mean, she steals the show in this show, clearly. I mean, she was just so great in so many scenes. First of all, she was very funny at points. She really is, I mean, they kind of portrayed her as like this really bad person. That's how I initially thought she was going to be. But no, she's actually the most caring of all of them. You know, she wants to be there for her son. She wants her son to be on a good career path. She wants to be a mother for them. She wants to be back into their lives. And honestly, I kind of feel like she's going to become my favorite character. I really do. She's a great character. I already love her, you know, personality and things like that. I think she's a great character, and she really makes the show for me. She really is fantastic. The directing of the show is fantastic as well. I actually really do give props to the show, and I'm surprised by how good this show really is. I honestly really feel this is going to be one of Fox's shows that goes for more than a season. I really feel it's going to. I know the ratings were very, very good for this show, which they should have been, because it's also directed by Lee Daniels, who wrote The Butler, and I think he definitely has a hit on his hands. Also, the sets in the show are so, so good. I love the sets in the show. It really looks like an actual record company. It really does. It looks like it's an actual record company that you can go to, and I think that's really cool that it looks like a record company. I like I love, just everything about the show. I love the music and things like that. I really love where the show's going. So we'll have to see where the rest of the season goes. As I said, guys, I'm only reviewing the first episode. I'm not reviewing the rest of the season. But let me know what you guys thought of this episode overall. Overall, guys, I thought this was a fantastic premiere. I was surprised by how much I really liked it. It's honestly probably the most surprising show so far this year. Very, very surprising. I'm very surprised by how much I love this show. And I've said it before, Fox is my least favorite network. I don't think they make very good programming because here's the thing with Fox. They try to pump out so many new shows at once that half of them are a piece of shit. I mean, there's a new show coming out. I don't know when it's coming out exactly, but actually, I do know what's coming out. Backstorm, Last Man on Earth, those shows do not look good at all, and this show is actually very, very good. And I really hope people watch this show because it's a very good show, and it's something that I think is a little bit different. And I've heard people compare this to Nashville, but I think it's different from Nashville. I don't really like Nashville. I like this, though. I think this is a good show, and I definitely want to see where it goes. I also really like the music on this show, and I recommend if you guys do anything, just buy the soundtrack, because the soundtrack is very, very good, and it actually works in a modern-day setting, which I really like as well. But that's basically it for my review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys saw this premiere. I thought this was a fantastic show. And as I said, I'm only reviewing the first episode, not reviewing the rest of the season. I will review the rest of the season when it's done. When, the show is done. When it's done, it's 12 episodes. I will review the rest of the show and tell you guys if it continued, if it continued, how good it really was. I really hope it does because I really like the show. But that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoy it. I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for another show that premiered last night called Hindsight. I didn't talk anything about the show on my fall, my mid-season video where I talk about all the shows I'm watching mid-season. I didn't know about this show. I saw a preview for it and I really want to watch it. So I'm going to watch it right now and then I'll review it for you guys and tell you if it's any good. So I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.